Ever wondered what bait or lure to use for different fishing conditions? Well, you're in the right place. The secret to successful fishing lies not just in the technique, but also in choosing the right bait and lure. Just like you wouldn't serve the same meal at every dinner party, you shouldn't use the same bait for every fishing expedition. The underwater world is a diverse place, with different fish species preferring different meals. And just as the seasons change, so do the dietary preferences of our fishy friends. Different conditions, whether it's the time of year, the temperature of the water, or the clarity of the water, can all impact what bait and lure to use. You see, understanding these factors can make the difference between reeling in a catch or going home empty-handed. So let's dive in and learn how to make the best bait and lure choices to increase your fishing success. Before we can select the right bait or lure, we need to understand some basic fishing principles. Let's start with the types of bait. There are three main categories: live, dead, and artificial. Live bait, as the name suggests, are living creatures like worms, minnows, or insects. They're often used because they move naturally in the water, attracting predatory fish seeking a meal. Then we have dead bait. These are creatures that are no longer alive, like chunks of fish or squid. While they lack the movement of live bait, their scent can still lure in fish from a distance. Lastly, we have artificial bait. These are man-made items designed to mimic the appearance and movement of live prey, often made of materials like plastic or rubber. They're reusable and great for attracting a wide variety of fish. Moving on to lures, there are several types to consider. Spoons are metallic, curved lures that mimic the movement of small fish when reeled in. Spinners, on the other hand, have a blade that spins, creating vibrations in the water to attract fish. Jigs are weighted hooks with a lead sinker and a soft body attached, designed to create a jerky, vertical motion. And then we have soft plastics, which are flexible lures designed to imitate a variety of aquatic creatures. Now, it's important to remember that different species of fish are attracted to different types of bait and lures. For example, bass are known to be attracted to artificial bait and lures like jigs and soft plastics, while catfish are more likely to be enticed by the scent of dead bait. The key here is to know your target species and what they're naturally drawn to. Research and experience are your best friends in this endeavor. Now that we've got the basics down, we can start looking at how to choose the right bait or lure for different conditions. Hey there, fellow anglers! If you're finding this guide helpful and would like to learn more about bait and lure selection, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep creating informative content like this, helping you and many others become better at fishing. And by subscribing, you ensure that you won't miss out on our future guides and tips. So why wait? Join our anglers community now. All right, let's dive back into our bait and lure selection guide. Choosing the right bait or lure depends on a few key factors: the type of water you're fishing in, the time of day, the season, and the species you're targeting. Let's start with the type of water. Freshwater and saltwater fish have different preferences when it comes to food. In freshwater, live baits like worms, minnows, and leeches can be quite effective. On the other hand, saltwater fish are often attracted to cut bait such as chunks of squid or mackerel. Water clarity also plays a role. In clear water, consider using lures that closely mimic the natural food sources of the fish. But in murky water, brightly colored or noisy lures can help attract attention. Next, the time of day. Fish can be more or less active depending on the time of day. Early morning and late afternoon are usually prime feeding times. Darker lures can create a better silhouette during these low light conditions, making them easier for fish to spot. Seasons also influence fish behavior and therefore your bait and lure selection. For instance, in spring, fish are often in shallow water for spawning, making them more likely to go after smaller, more subtle lures. In contrast, during the hot summer months, fish may move to deeper, cooler water, requiring lures that can reach these depths. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is the species you're targeting. Each species has its own specific diet. Bass, for example, are known to favor frogs and small fish, so lures that mimic these food sources can be effective. Trout, on the other hand, may be more attracted to insects and thus respond better to fly lures. Experimentation is key here. Don't be afraid to try a variety of baits and lures until you find what works best in your specific conditions. Remember, the key is to match your bait and lure to the conditions and species you're targeting. Keep these factors in mind and you'll be well on your way to a successful fishing trip. Now that we've got the theory down, let's look at some practical tips for selecting bait and lures. First off, size matters. The size of your bait or lure should match the size of the fish you're targeting. Think about it. A small fish isn't likely to go after a bait that's larger than it is. On the flip side, larger fish may ignore tiny baits. So, keep your bait proportionate to your target. Next, consider color. In clear water, natural hues such as browns and greens work well as they blend with the surroundings and seem more realistic to fish. But in murkier water, brightly colored lures are your best bet. The high visibility of colors like neon yellow or hot pink can attract fish even in low light conditions. Now let's talk about live bait. Remember, these are living creatures. Treat them with care to ensure they stay lively and attractive to fish. Store them in cool, oxygenated water and handle them gently. A lively worm, minnow, or crawfish can make a world of difference to your fishing success. Moving on to lures. Using lures effectively is an art. It's not just about casting and waiting, it's about mimicking the movement of the prey. If you're using a frog lure, for example, make it hop. If it's a minnow, make it dart and swoop. This can take some practice, but the payoff is worth it. Additionally, don't be afraid to switch things up. If a bait or lure isn't working, try another. Sometimes, even a slight change in size, color, or type can turn a slow fishing day into a successful one. Lastly, remember that patience is key. Fishing is often a waiting game. But with the right bait or lure and a bit of persistence, you're sure to reel in a catch to be proud of. With these tips, you'll be well on your way to making smart bait and lure choices and catching more fish.